So he hops on a train, or maybe a boat, given the geography, and heads to Amsterdam. It's October 1935. What is the vibe when he lands in Holland? Because when I think of the 1930s, I think of grim industrialism, but Holland is different.
It's atmospheric noir, that's a great way to put it. He describes arriving on the day the match starts. The weather is gloomy, leaden clouds, constant drizzle.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah, he talks about the miniature houses huddled along the canals, but the thing that shocked him the most wasn't the chess. It was the bicycles.
The bicycle?
Yes. You have to remember, he's coming from Eastern Europe, from Latvia. Resources are scarce. If you leave something valuable outside, it's gone.
It's gone, of course.
He lands in Amsterdam and he sees hundreds of bicycles left unlocked outside the Carlton Hotel.
Just leaning there.
Just leaning there. He thought, these people are crazy, anyone could take them. It was a massive cultural shock, the carelessness of the wealthy, stable West. It set the tone that he was in a different world, a civilized world.
That sets the stage perfectly.
Yeah.
It's calm, orderly, civilized Holland. But inside the tournament hall, it was anything but calm.
It was chess fever. Despite the calm exterior of the city, the public was obsessed. You had crowds gathering outside the venue just to see the players enter.
Wow.
Inside the hall, 500 spectators packed in. But here's the difference between chess and, say, football. 500 people, packed shoulder to shoulder in absolute silence.
That kind of silence is heavy. It has weight. It's not an empty silence.
No, it's a charged silence. And they are all staring at a large demonstration board where the moves are being replicated. It's a collective holding of breath.
And the main event, the heavyweight championship of the world. On one side, the reigning champion Alexander Alekhine. On the other, the challenger Max Euwe. Introduce us to these combatants. They seem like total opposites.
They are night and day. Let's start with Alekhine. He was the Titan. He had held the title for 8 years. He was a Russian aristocrat who had lost everything in the revolution, fled to France, and rebuilt himself as the chess king.
A formidable figure.
A formidable figure, and a man of nervous, frantic energy. He would show up to the board wearing a tuxedo.
Always a tuxedo.
Yeah.
Even for an afternoon game.
Always. He looked elegant, but pale. He smoked constantly chain-smoking cigarettes, putting them out after a few puffs, lighting another. When it wasn't his turn to move, he wouldn't sit.
No.
He would pace in circles around the table, twisting a lock of his hair with his fingers. He was like a caged tiger.
And didn't he have a unique companion? I remember reading this.
Laughs. Yes, the mascot. Alekhine was deeply superstitious. He brought his Siamese cat to the tournament hall.
He brought a cat to the World Championship.
He did. And the cat's name... Chess.
No, you're kidding me.
Yes, the cat's name was Chess. Alekhine would carry this cat into the hall for good luck. Before the games, he would sometimes make Euwe, his opponent, pet the cat or endure this ritual of the cat being present.
That is an absolute power move.
It was psychological dominance. I am the king, this is my court, this is my cat, you are just a guest.
Pet my cat before I destroy you. So that's Alekhine, high-strung, intense, superstitious aristocrat. Who is Max Euwe?
Max Euwe was the picture of Dutch pragmatism. He was a mathematics professor, he was athletic, he was a boxer and a swimmer.
A boxer.
A boxer, and he was described as cold-blooded. He didn't pace, he sat there calm, composed, fit. He didn't need a mascot, he relied on logic and preparation.
So we have the nervous genius versus the math professor. How did the match start? I assume the genius Alekhine was the favorite.
Overwhelmingly, nobody gave you a real chance. It was seen as a mismatch, and at first it looked like a slaughter.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Alekhine stormed out of the gate. He was leading 6-3. He was crushing Euwe. And here's a fascinating detail about the economics of the time. The organizers started to panic.
Why panic? The favorite is winning. Isn't that good for ticket sales?
No, because they had promised Alekhine a fee based on the number of games played, and they needed ticket sales to pay for it. If Alekhine won too quickly, the match would be over in a couple of weeks, and the organizers would be bankrupt. They needed it to be a long, drawn-out fight.
That is incredible. They needed the match to drag on just to pay the bills.
Exactly. The city of Zeist, which was hosting some games, actually withdrew their financial support because Euwe was losing so badly.
Get out.
They thought, why pay for a funeral? They pulled the funding.
That is brutal. You're losing, so we're cutting the checks. Talk about adding pressure to the underdog.
But then the tide turned, and this is where the psychology comes in. You didn't break. He used that boxer's mentality.
Right. He can take a punch.
He took the punches and kept standing. By game 10, he won a brilliant game, and suddenly Alekhine realized This wasn't going to be a walkover. The money started flowing back in as you started winning, but Alekhine started to crumble.
And this leads us to the critical moment. We have to talk about the Pearl of Zandvoort, Game 26. This is legendary in chess circles, but Cublanks gives us a specific read on it, right?
Right, he does. This game encapsulates the entire conflict. The score is tied. The tension is unbearable. Alekhine, playing black, decides he needs to win at any cost. He cannot accept a draw.
He needs to reassert his dominance.
He has to. So he sacrifices 2 pawns.
Which is a lot. For our listeners who don't play, that's a huge material deficit.
It's huge. It's like spotting your opponent points in a basketball game. He gives up material to launch an attack. But Coblanks points out, and you realize this, the attack didn't actually exist.
It was a bluff.
It was a bluff. It was Alekhine trying to create chaos, hoping you would get scared of the ghosts on the board. He was playing on his own reputation.
I am Alekhine, fear my complexity.
Exactly. He was betting on his reputation. But Yui, the mathematician, looked at the board and said, "There is no attack. You just gave me 2 pawns."
Wow.
He defended with cold, hard logic. He refuted the romantic attack. Alekhine was left with a lost position and a shattered psyche. It was the triumph of logic over psychology.
Now, we have to address the elephant in the room, or perhaps the bottle in the room. The Alekhine was drunk myth.
Right.
You hear this all the time. Oh, Alekhine lost in 1935 because he was drunk at the board. What does Coblanks, who is sitting right there, say about this?
He is very specific about this, and he corrects the historical record. He admits that alcohol played a major destructive role in Alekhine's life, no doubt.
Okay.
But he insists Alekhine was not drunk during the games of the 1935 match.
So he wasn't stumbling around knocking over pieces. It wasn't that kind of scene.
No. Coblanks observed that Alekhine used alcohol as a stimulant before the critical phases. When Alekhine felt apathy or depression setting in, which happened when he realized Yu was stronger than he thought, he would drink before the game to pump himself up.
To get the adrenaline going.
Exactly, to fight off the nerves with more nerves. But during the critical losses, like Game 21 or the Pearl of Zandvoort, Coblanks says Alekhine was sober. He was just psychologically broken. Yeah. He was unsure of himself. The alcohol was a symptom of his mental state, not the direct cause of the bad moves in the moment.
That makes it more tragic, doesn't it? It wasn't just, oops, I had too much wine. It was a man realizing his powers were failing him, and he was alone.
The loneliness is palpable. After he lost the title, Alekhine felt the world had turned against him. He stopped bringing the cat to the hall.
Oh, that's heartbreaking.
Please, a heartbreaking detail. The magic charm had failed.
And Koblenz flashes forward to the end of Alekhine's life to emphasize this.
Yes. 1946. Alekhine is found dead in a hotel room in Estoril, Portugal. He's wearing his overcoat, he's sitting in front of a chessboard, and beside him is a book of poetry.
Alone.
He died as he lived alone, with the game that both made him and destroyed him.
That image.
Yeah.
Dead in an overcoat with a chessboard, that really stays with you. It pivots us to the next big theme Coblanks explores. We have this image of the chess professional as a glamorous intellectual.
Yeah, the genius in a suit.
But Coblanks seems to be tearing that down. He paints a picture of precariousness.
He absolutely does. And he uses the voice of Dr. Milan Vidmar to do it.
Vidmar is a fascinating character because he wasn't a professional in the strict sense, right? He had a real job.
And what a job. Milan Vidmar was a grandmaster, one of the best in the world, but his day job was being a professor of electrical engineering and a university rector.
Wow.
He was a scientist. He explicitly refused to be a full-time chess player.
And he had a warning for young Coblanks.
A chilling warning. Coblanks meets Vidmar in Warsaw. And Vidmar tells him, essentially, don't do it. Don't become a professional.
He gave that famous quote about the train.
Yes. He said, the problem of the chess professional, ensuring old age seems to him like lying on the rails. The train is coming.
Wow. The train is coming. Meaning poverty, irrelevance, mental breakdown.
All of it. Both. Vidmar listed the victims. He talked about Akiba Rubinstein, a genius who succumbed to mental illness and vanished from the scene. He talked about Karl Schlechter, who literally died of starvation and poverty after World War I.
Starvation.
He talked about Redi. Vidmar's philosophy was, chess should be a mistress, not a master. If you rely on it for your bread, you are doomed.
It's the gig economy of the 1930s, but with higher stakes. If you don't win, you don't eat.
And you have to remember, there were no sponsorships, really. No streaming revenue. You played for the prize money. If you had a bad tournament, you were borrowing money to pay for your hotel. The stress must have been unbelievable.
There's another figure who embodies this tragedy, maybe even more than Alekhine, Rudolf Spielmann. Koblenz writes about him with a lot of regret.
Spielman is the romantic hero. He was called the last knight of the King's Gambit. He was a small gentleman, very polite, but on the board, he was a barbarian.
He wanted fire and blood.
He wanted fire and blood. He played for beauty and attack above all else.
And he had this theory about sacrifices.
Yeah.
Real versus imaginary. This is a really cool concept. Can you break it down?
It is cool. It's really at the heart of the whole artistic versus scientific debate in chess. So Spielman said there are two types of sacrifices. An imaginary sacrifice is what computers do today.
Okay.
You give up a piece, but you calculate 10, 20 moves ahead, and you know you were going to get it back or checkmate. It looks risky to a weaker player, but it's actually a safe investment. It's a calculated exchange.
So it looks like a sacrifice, but it's really just a long-term transaction.
Exactly. It's imaginary. What's a real sacrifice?
Okay, what's a real one then?
A real sacrifice, according to Spielman, is when you give up a piece and you don't know the outcome. You are burning your bridges. You are betting that your intuition and the chaos you create will be stronger than your opponent's defense. You are stepping into the dark.
That is pure romanticism. It's trusting your gut over your brain. It's an act of faith.
And Koblenz admits that as a young man, he dismissed Spielman. He thought Spielman was old-fashioned. Koblenz was trying to be scientific, modern.
Sure.
But 50 years later, writing this memoir, Koblenz says he feels embarrassed. He realized that Spielman's willingness to take that risk, to make the real sacrifice, was a higher form of art. It was courage.
But the art didn't pay the rent.
No. Spielman died in poverty in Stockholm during the wall, alone. Another victim of the train Vidmar warned about.
This era wasn't all tragedy, though. There were some incredibly colorful characters. Koblenz mentions Savili Tartakower.
Tartakower is the wit of the chess world. He was the one who said, "A match is a fairy tale of 1,001 mistakes." He was a journalist's dream. I love that. He never took himself too seriously. He had this cynical, paradox-loving attitude. He once said, "I never win, I just sometimes don't lose." His whole outlook was just wry.
And Bogoljubov, what was his deal?
Efim Bogoljubov was the eternal optimist. He was chubby, cheerful, and believed he was winning every game until he was checkmated. He had this famous joke.
Lay it on me.
He said, "When I play white, I win because I play 1d4. When I play black, I win because I play d5.
The logic is undeniable. I win because I am me.
It's that supreme, almost delusional confidence you need to survive at that level.
And then there's the story of Amos Byrne and the pipe. This sounds like psychological torture.
Laughs. This is a classic gamesmanship story. Amos Byrne was an English master, very solid, very slow. He's playing the American firebrand Frank Marshall, who plays fast and aggressive.
Total contrast in style.
Total contrast. Byrne makes his second move, and then he stops. He takes out his pipe, he starts cleaning it, he taps it, he fills it with tobacco, he pats it down, he looks for matches.
And the clock is ticking this whole time.
The clock is ticking. Marshall is sitting there, vibrating with energy, waiting for a move, wanting to get into a tactical brawl. Byrne lights the match goes out, he lights another one, he puffs. This whole ritual goes on and on.
Oh, that's infuriating.
Marshall's losing his mind. Finally, after minutes of this, Byrne makes his third, very simple move. By that point, Marshall is so tilted he can't focus. He's been completely thrown off his game.
It's the original slow roll, just weaponizing patience.
It shows that chess was never just about the pieces. It was about sitting across from another human being and breaking their will.
Let's move to the main stage, the 1935 Warsaw Olympiad, the Tournament of Nations.
This sounds massive.
It was a spectacle. 20 nations, 40 tables set up in a massive ballroom. And Koblenz notes a specific detail. There were no demonstration boards for the individual games, just ropes separating the crowd from the players.
So you had to be right up against the rope to see the action. You had to physically be there, peering over shoulders.
Yeah.
Right. It created this intense intimacy, and the schedule was grueling, 8-hour playing sessions. You could see the exhaustion on the players' faces by the end of the day.
Koblenz highlights two young stars here who are polar opposites. Paul Kears and Miguel Najdorf. Let's start with Kears.
Paul Kears from Estonia, the crown prince of chess. He was young, elegant, and possessed a poker face that was legendary.
Really?
Koblenz watched him in critical time trouble, where you have seconds to make a move or you lose. Most players are shaking, sweating, tapping their feet. Kears, he would sit perfectly still. The only sign of emotion was a slight blush on his cheeks.
That is, man.
Total control. And then you have Miguel Najdorf playing for Poland.
The gladiator.
The gladiator. The complete opposite. Najdorf couldn't sit still. He was constantly talking, pacing, joking. He was loud. He'd comment on his own moves, his opponent's move.
Oh.
There's a hilarious anecdote Koblenz shares. Najdorf gets into a dispute with a judge about time controls or a move. The judge tries to shut him down and says, very pompously, "How do they handle this in England?" Trying to appeal to British sportsmanship.
And what does Najdorf say?
Najdorf shoots back, "In England, they'd say, I lost and I wouldn't argue."
Meaning, we aren't in England, so I'm going to argue.
I love that.
Exactly. He was a force of nature. And, of course, tragically, Najdorf was playing for Poland in 1935.
Yeah.
By 1939, when the war broke out, he was in Argentina for another Olympiad and couldn't go home. He lost his entire family in the Holocaust.
Oh, man.
But in 1935, he was just this vibrant, loud, brilliant young man.
We also have to mention the American team. They won the gold, but Koblenz points out something interesting about their strategy. It wasn't just about their top players.
No, it was the depth of their bench. You had grandmasters like Reuben Fine and Frank Marshall on the top boards playing the other world champions. They just held the line, lots of draws. They were the defensive line.
But on the lower boards, the reserves, Dake and Horowitz, they were the snipers. They were playing against weaker opponents from other countries and scoring massive points, crushing them.
So it was a team effort.
It was a team victory, not just a star victory. Let the stars cancel each other out and let the reserves clean up. It revolutionized how teams approached the Olympiad.
Smart strategy. Okay, we've talked about Alekhine, you, the rising stars. But we haven't talked about the man who many consider the greatest natural talent of all time, Jose Raul Capablanca.
The legend.
Koblenz meets him at Hastings.
This is a great segment. It starts with a misunderstanding. Koblenz is traveling to the Hastings tournament in England. He gets to customs. The British officer asks him what he's doing. Koblenz says, chess tournament.
Right.
But with his accent, the officer hears cheese tournament.
A cheese tournament.
Yes. The officer smiles, probably thinking about Cheddar or Stilton, and waves him through. Ah, a cheesemonger. Go right ahead. Koblenz walks into England as a cheese merchant.
That is fantastic. So the cheese merchant meets Capablanca. What was this Cuban machine like in person?
He was awe-inspiring. Koblenz describes him as having an aura. Capablanca didn't seem to calculate, not in the way other players did. He would walk over to a board, glance at a complex position for 2 seconds, and say, white wins with this move.
And he was always right.
And he was always right. It was pure intuition, a kind of genius that you can't really explain.
And Koblenz managed to charm him, didn't he? How did he do that?
He did. Koblenz had learned a little Spanish, apparently, in just 3 days. He was a quick study. He spoke to Capablanca in his native tongue.
How smart.
Capablanca, who could be a bit aloof and arrogant with other masters, lit up. He loved hearing Spanish. It was a small thing, but it opened the door for Koblenz to get close to him.
But Koblenz also saw the cracks in the armor. Capablanca wasn't perfect.
No. His flaw was his laziness. He was arrogant. He relied entirely on talent and did not prepare. He thought he could just show up and outplay anyone because he was Capablanca.
Which usually worked.
Usually. But Koblenz tells the story of the game against Sir George Thomas, an English amateur.
What happened there?
Capablanca was winning. It should have been easy. But he was so casual, so dismissive, that he got into time trouble. He wasn't paying attention. He started rushing. And suddenly, he blundered. He missed a simple win and ended up losing.
Ooh, an amateur.
To an amateur. Koblenz says the room was in shock. It was like seeing a god bleed. It wasn't supposed to happen.
And Capablanca had a chip on his shoulder about Alekhine, didn't he? This defined his later career.
A massive one. He hated Alekhine. He felt Alekhine's victory over him in 1927 was a fluke, an accident. He called the organizers shameful for not arranging a rematch. He spent his life waiting for a rematch that Alekhine very smartly never gave him. It ate him alive.
It's the Mozart versus Salieri dynamic, but in this case they were both Mozart, just different kinds.
One was the Mozart of labor and obsession, that was Alekhine, and one was the Mozart of pure, effortless grace, Capablanca, and they couldn't exist in the same orbit.
We've covered the international superstars. But Koblenz is Latvian, and his book is full of love for his local heroes players. You, the listener, might not know, but who are fascinating.
Yes, the Latvian gems. We have to talk about Fraisis Apinix.
Oh.
He is the tragic romantic of Latvia. He suffered from tuberculosis. He knew he was dying young, and because of that, he didn't care about money or safety on the board. He played for beauty.
I'm here for a good time, not a long time.
Exactly. He created these beautiful, artistic, risky games because he wanted to leave something permanent behind. He knew he wouldn't have a long career, so he made every game count artistically.
And then there's Theodore's Zides. This story really touched me.
It's a testament to passion. Zides grew up poor. He couldn't afford chess books. So as a child, he borrowed a textbook and hand-copied the entire thing.
The whole book.
The entire book. Diagrams, text variations. He wrote his own library because he couldn't afford one. It reminds us how precious information was back then. Today, we have databases with millions of games at our fingertips. Zides had to write his own book just to learn.
That level of dedication is humbling. And finally, we have a story that feels like it's straight out of a Guy Ritchie movie, The 32-Pound Bet.
This is Coblinks in London, 1939, right before the war. He's in a chess cafe. He's hustling a bit, playing for shillings to make ends meet.
Sure.
A mysterious man walks in. Coblinks calls him the jeweler from Antwerp. He has a goatee, looks intense. He challenges Coblinks.
I'll play you, but for real money.
High stakes. He wants to play for stakes that would make the regulars faint. They end up playing for 32 pounds. Now, in 1939, that is a fortune. That's months of rent. It's a life-changing amount of money for a struggling chess player.
Coblinks takes the bet. He must have been terrified.
He takes it. He's nervous, but he plays. He wins. He takes the 32 pounds. But he writes that he felt a strange moral ambiguity about it.
Really?
He felt the hustler's guilt. It wasn't art, it was predation. It highlights that line between the Golden Age gentleman and the desperate professional trying to survive.
It really brings it back to Vidmar's warning. The train is coming. Coblinks managed to jump off the tracks just in time by becoming a journalist and a trainer.
He did. And because he did, he preserved these stories for us. Otherwise, they might have just vanished.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what does all this mean for us? We've looked at Alekhine's anxiety, Capablanca's laziness, Spielman's poverty. It's not a very happy picture of the Golden Age.
It's not a happy picture, but it is a human one, and I think that's Coblinks' ultimate point. He ends the book reflecting on the beauty of chess. He says that even amidst the tragedies, the wars, the poverty, and the mental breakdowns, the patterns on the board remain eternal.
The art survives the artist.
Yes. The Pearl of Zandvoort is still beautiful today, even if Alekhine was miserable when he played it. The real sacrifice of Spielman still makes our hearts race, even if he died poor. Chess offers a kind of immortality that these men were chasing.
And here's a thought to leave our listeners with. We live in the age of AI. Engines like Stockfish can calculate deeper than Alekhine or Capablanca ever dreamed. They can refute Spielman's real sacrifices in a nanosecond.
Right. They turn every sacrifice into a cold calculation. There are no more leaps into the void.
So the question is, in our quest for perfection, for the perfectly played game, have we lost the romantic spirit? Is there still room in the world for the real sacrifice, for taking a risk not because you calculated it, but because you believe in the beauty of the idea?
That is the question. Perhaps the flaws of the 1930s, the intuition, the bluffs, the psychology, the human error, were actually what made the game so compelling. Perfection is boring. The struggle is what matters.
Perfection is boring. I love that. Thank you for joining us on this trip to 1935. It's been a fascinating ride.
My pleasure. It was great to get into it.
And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in. Keep making those real sacrifices in your own lives. We'll see you on the next Deep Dive.